Hello everybody and welcome to Watch Me Go Broke. Yes, I know it's been a hot minute since I did a video, but I wanted to do this particular watch, the Hamilton Interstellar watch, otherwise known as the Hamilton Khaki Aviation Pilot Day Date Auto, in lieu of Top Gun Maverick that came out last week. And if you have not seen that movie, I highly recommend it. Now cue the eye rolls at the end of this sentence. I think it may just be the greatest movie that's ever been made. Now, tons of watches in that movie. Well, not tons really, but there's a lot of people wearing watches in the movie. I believe all the pilots are wearing IWCs, their pilot chronograph watches. Of course, Tom Cruise is sporting his Porsche designed chronograph from the original Top Gun, which is cool. And looking at the standee, or the cardboard cutout at the movie theater, you can see him wearing that Porsche watch, but you can also see Jennifer Connelly's character wearing what looks to me like a Rolex Explorer 1016, a vintage, or it's a San Martin homage. I don't know, but that's what she's wearing. But yeah, great movie. Definitely go see it. But first things first, on my wrist today is going to be the Ticino Depth Master. This is a discontinued watch. Came out, I guess, probably about 5 years ago or so. It's homaging the Omega Seamaster 300, which I think is okay because they don't make those anymore. So this is sort of an homage to a discontinued watch. And here is today's watch. This is the Hamilton Khaki Aviation Pilot Day Date Auto. You've got a 42mm case, a thickness of 12mm, which is pretty thin considering the size of this watch. A lug-to-lug of 48mm, 20mm lug width that tapers down to 18 at the clasp and back up to, it looks to be over 20 at the clasp. So you've got an all 316L stainless steel case, sapphire crystal, and a day date complication. This is going to be powered by Hamilton's H40 movement. So if you've recognized the H40 movement, it is also in the Hamilton Khaki King. I think it works a little bit better in that particular watch than it does in this, and I will go over that in just a second. And zooming in on the dial, it is a good looking dial. You have all applied Arabic numeral indices all the way from 10 there, all the way to 50. You've got a 12-hour scale ring in the center of the watch. Hamilton's logo just below the 12 in that particular area. Then you have automatic just above that date complication. Swiss made just below that 30 mark there. And at the 12 o'clock position, you also have an applied triangle denoting the 12 o'clock position. It is a three-hander with sword hands that are generously filled with lume. And then you have a kind of an arrow style second hand that is very long. So as mentioned, you've got the day complication at the 12 o'clock and then the 6 o'clock position, the date. So it is just a push-pull crown today for this watch that has 100 meters of water resistance. The crown is actually really cool. It's oversized with the Hamilton H there. Very grippy, very nice. First position is hand winding. Second position, you change the day and the date. Third position, you do hack, and then you can change the time. So let me scroll around here and see if the day and the date change right at 12. Let's see, here we go. And boom, just about 5 minutes before. That's really good, just about all you can ask. So pulling it back out to the second position, rolling it forward does change the date down at the bottom, and rolling it backwards, the same as the Hamilton Khaki King, does the date or the day in two parts. So a couple of winds gives you that day. So this watch is the watch that Matthew McConaughey wore in the movie Interstellar. So it really doesn't do anything in the movie. The other watch that's in the movie, the Murph, is actually the one that does a bunch of cool stuff. This one just worn on the wrist of Matthew McConaughey. I'm gonna guesstimate that he has about a 7-inch wrist, so he's able to pull it off pretty well. Taking a look at the bracelet, this bracelet is phenomenal. The finishing on this bracelet is absolutely fantastic. It is just beautiful. It's heavy, it's substantial, it's really everything that you would want in a bracelet. And you'll notice the end links are female end links, but they don't really articulate at all, as you can see there. So really, effectively, these are male end links masquerading as female end links, which really, for today's time, is pretty appropriate. And taking a look at the clasp, pretty much standard Hamilton affair. Double pushers to open it. It is milled, but I like the fact that they've done the Hamilton logo down the center of the milling of the clasp. That does add a little bit of reinforcement to this, which I really, really like, and of course, love that Hamilton logo. You also get 3 micro adjustments, so you should be able to get a pretty good fit for this. And taking a look at the case back, it is a good looking display case back, as Hamilton does on a lot of their watches now. Beautifully decorated rotor with the Hamilton logo there, that old retro style logo. Of course, it's just showcasing this modified ETA movement, which does have an 80-hour power reserve. So yeah, I mean, you guys know what I've thought about 80-hour power reserve automatics in the past. This being a pilot's watch, maybe not that bad of an idea, because, you know, you're not moving around in the cockpit too much, so you might need that little extra juice there. So you've got Swiss-made, water-resistant 10 bar, that's 100 meters or 145 PSI. That is the code that you would give Hamilton if you bought this on a leather strap and you wanted to get the bracelet secondary. I've done that several times, but I went ahead and got this one on the bracelet, so I didn't have to fool with that. And then the serial number down here at the bottom. And it is a screw-down case back, theoretically, because it's held together with 4 flat head screws there to hold it on. So I think the indices on this watch are really the star of the show. They are grooved, actually, and I don't know if in my macros you're able to see it there, but they're grooved, so they catch the light really, really well. So if you're outside or even inside in low light levels, it almost appears that they are loomed, but they are not. It's just the way that they've done it with the grooving. Vertical lines on there to make it catch the light, which is really, really awesome. So, I never really liked this watch. I thought that it was just going to be too big for me. It just looked a little bit too flashy for what it was, and it almost looks kind of cheap, or it did. You know, I was looking at it in the store and stuff and online. It almost looked cheap. But I can tell you, it kind of has grown on me. I was worried about the size of 42 being too big. For my wrist at 7.5, it's not too big at all. It wears just about perfectly, which I will show you now on my wrist. Yeah, it's just really a gorgeous watch. Really no complaints about the way it wears. So my fears about it being too big, even with the protruding end links, which actually effectively make the lug-to-lug 53.5, so it's going to put some guys off, but I think if you have a larger wrist there, you're not going to have any problem. Of course, Matthew McConaughey didn't have any problem, and he's pretty cool. And of course, I love the bracelet. This is one of the best bracelets I've seen on any watch that I've had or reviewed. I love it. The bracelet is what really sold me on this watch. I think it's fantastic. I took out 2 links for my 7.5-inch wrist. It is pin and collar. I don't like that. I don't generally size pin and collar myself, so I took it to my local guy and he sized it up for me, and I think it wears really, really well. So what do I not like about this watch? Well, there's a couple of things, kind of minor. There's a cutout on the hour hand that I'm assuming is supposed to allow you to see the 12-hour scale, but when you go over the numbers, it covers up the numbers. So I don't think that really was that well done. I think it maybe should have been a little bit bigger so you could see that, but again, you can still tell the time. No problem. Very minor gripe. Second gripe would be the fact that they have slowed this movement down from 28,800 vibrations per hour to 21,600 vibrations per hour, and that's for the 80-hour power reserve. But when you have a second hand that is that long, it does make it look a little choppy when the second hand is going around the dial there, so not as smooth of a motion as I would have liked. I guess the third gripe that I have is the day and the date complication seems like an afterthought. I don't think it really fits the size of this dial very well. Works great on the Khaki King, no problems. I think it looks fantastic. But this, the date is so small, it is very hard to read. And it just seems undersized, the day complication up at the top. So this was an afterthought. I think, you know, going back, maybe they should have not put that in there. Again, it is a pilot's watch, so I don't know why you would really need that in the old Flieger style that they're trying to do here. But yeah, just not something that, you know, is really attractive to the watch. Like having the complication, but I think it could have been executed a little bit better. So let's check out the Lume. I like the Lume on this watch. It doesn't last like overly long, but I will say this, it is beautiful. When you see it in person, it's really cool green color, really heaps of it all over the place. So it really does look good, and it's a little bit above what Hamilton usually does. And one thing I forgot to mention that I like is the way that those Arabic indices there hit the light, and they grab the light in low light situations. Really, really cool. So overall, guys, I think it's a great watch. It's an expensive watch. I think you can get it probably, you know, a couple of $100 less than what Hamilton's selling it for at $945. You know, they're always on sale at department stores, things like that. So you could probably get it for, you know, I would say around $500 or $600, possibly less if you're getting it used. But yeah, it's a really cool watch. I'm not sure if it was made specifically for the movie, but if it was, you know, I think it's cool. I think it's a great offering from Hamilton. It took me a while to warm up to it, but I have, and I love it. So that is all I have for you today, guys, and I will see you next time.